Hey guys, Josh here, and in this video I'll be sharing with you my first thoughts on Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time. This newest entry in the Fantasy Life series just released for Steam, Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch. I've played it for 40 hours, mostly on PC, a bit on the Switch, and I'll tell you how it is so you know if it's a game for you or not. If you learned something new in this video, or if you're already enjoying Fantasy Life and you're just here to be part of the excitement, consider leaving a like on the video to let me know you'd like more Fantasy Life content, and let's begin. Like in the original 3DS game, your Fantasy Life starts by creating your character. With the cartoony art style that we have here, you would expect something basic, but there is actually a good selection to choose from. Various body types, lots of hairstyles, facial features. If you want to get into the details, you can even change the size of your mouth, the position of your eyes, and you can pick between 12 different voices, which you will hear in all their splendor whenever you do anything, but especially while fishing. You'll be glad to hear that all of these options can be changed at any point, even your name and the name of your island. So don't overthink it. Overall, the experience of creating your character showcases really well how this game is as a whole. It's polished, simple, but not shallow. I won't talk too much about the story in order to avoid spoilers, but you find yourself with the ability to time travel, and you'll have to switch between the past when there's a lively town and tons of people to interact with, and the present when things clearly went wrong. You'll have to figure that out, and there's this deserted island to terraform and build on. Just like in the first game, the story is quite simple, but it is engaging. Characters are quirky and unique, the dialogue is filled with puns and humor, it's easy to follow along for players of any age, but it doesn't get boring. I'm the type of person who tends to skip through dialogue a lot in games, but even though there's quite a lot of cutscenes here, it doesn't drag on as much as it did in the original. It's more straight to the point, and there's always something happening. I'm enjoying it. By the way, you don't need to have played the original game. If you did, you may recognize some characters, but the stories are not connected. This is a proper standalone experience. I've not fully finished the main story. I want to take my time for the last chapter. If you focus on it quickly, it could probably be done in under 20 hours. So it's relatively short, but the best part about Fantasy Life is how, whenever you want to take a break from the story, you can. I would say that the story here is almost like a narrative-driven tutorial through which you unlock new features and mechanics, but most of your time is spent outside of that story doing whatever you want. You are being given this freedom very early on when you're tasked by the king to get a life. It's very easy in this game. You just go to Auntie Anne, not at the pretzel shop but at the guild office, and you tell her what life you want. There are 14 to choose from: combat lives like mercenary and magician, gathering lives such as woodcutter and angler, and the crafting lives like blacksmith or cook. There are more, as you can see on the screen, with farmer and artist to be unlocked at a later point in the story. Each life lets you do a specific activity, so let's say you want to fish, you need the angler life, and as you do that activity, you level up, get points to spend in the skill tree for that life, unlock new items and recipes, and so on. The beauty here is that the game never really forces you to pick one life or another. If you're a cook, sure, it helps to have the angler life as well, but you could also just buy fish from the store. You could get by for most, if not the entire game, with just one life, maybe with some added challenge along the way, or you could decide to do all of the lives and make the most out of each one. There is really no right or wrong way to play. Plus, there is now a buddy system where you can have up to 3 NPCs follow you at any time. They each have a life, you can give them equipment and instructions so they can fight, gather, and craft for you. This makes it so if you never pick up a certain life for your character, you are still not missing out. If you're wondering how the lives work in terms of gameplay, it's simple but fun enough to remain engaging. For example, with woodcutting and mining, instead of just holding down the button like in most games, you have a regular hit and a strong hit, and you can circle around the tree to find the sweet spot, which will inflict more damage. As you level up, you unlock more abilities like a powerful charged attack and passive bonuses, and everything is almost a battle where your goal is to get the health of the resource to 0 before your stamina depletes. If you run out of stamina, you have to step back to drink a potion. The resource heals itself right away, and you either have to start over or to just go get stronger. It's quite simple, but there's just a bit more to it than in your typical life sims, and the feel of everything plays a big part in making it enjoyable. The sound effects, the numbers on the screen, the animations, the controller rumble when you find the sweet spot. all the loot that you pick up. It is so satisfying and it makes you want to keep going for 5 more minutes, 5 more minutes, until you realize you've been chopping trees for 5 hours. As for crafting lives, you do this minigame where you go left and right to get in front of the right station and then press hold or tap a button as rapidly as possible to get enough points to fill up this bar before running out of actions. It's fast-paced, it's fun, but if you really don't like it, again, you can ask a buddy to do it. And there are also some skills letting you skip the minigames for low-level items, so it doesn't get too tedious. When it comes to combat, I can only speak for Magician as that's the combat life I've been focusing on, but it's your typical casual action RPG. You have 2 regular attack buttons, another one to dodge. Eventually you unlock more abilities like the Magician can heal or buff, but don't expect too much of a challenge. You can go through it mindlessly for the most part, especially if you have buddies by your side. One major improvement this new game has over the original is all the quality of life features, with the most notable one being that changing between lives is now instant. In the original, if you had, let's say, the woodcutter life and you were chopping trees, then you saw some ores and you wanted to start mining, you first had to go back to town, change life, and then come back to get the ores. With this new game, it switches automatically based on what you're doing, so if you start cutting a tree, you will transform into your little woodcutter outfit. If you start mining, you will turn into a miner, so you don't even have to think about it. It's been a long time since I played the 3DS game. I don't remember quite well what was there or not, but here there is a fast travel unlocked very early on. You can craft anything from any station, so you could go to a kitchen and make furniture or tools. And at first I was confused seeing all of the recipes in one place, but once you get used to it, it is convenient, and there are so many of these little details that make your experience very frictionless. It is truly a perfect game to relax. It feels good, it's addictive with everything there is to do. It can be grindy at times, but you can play it for hours without getting bored, and like I was saying earlier, it doesn't feel shallow, and I will explain why. I think that with this life sim, farming sim genre, there is a problem of games that feel really good and addictive but lack depth. I will take Luma Island as an example. On the surface, it's similar, you have different jobs. Each one specializes in a certain activity with their own quests. You go from one area to the next with tougher materials, you upgrade your tools. They seem not too different at first glance. But one big difference is in Luma Island, if you're a blacksmith, you make gear, but you can't even wear it, you only sell it. So you make like item number 1 that sells for 100 coins, then you unlock the recipe for item number 2 that sells for 200 coins, making the first one completely obsolete. On the other hand, in fantasy life, if you're a blacksmith, yes, you can sell what you make and make it your main source of income, but you can also use it to equip yourself and your bodies to improve your stats. It is the same for every life, so everything has a purpose, which gives meaning to what you're doing and makes it feel rewarding. It also doesn't feel as formulaic as some other games, so of course you have copper tools and iron, silver, gold, but they come in various quality levels, so a good quality copper pickaxe could be better than a basic iron one. They can also have special effects, and it sounds weird, but you can bury them with materials in dungeons to improve them even more. And all of these things make it exciting to obtain new gear since everything is a little bit different. It's not as clear-cut as having a tier 1 tool to get tier 1 resources in the first area, then tier 2 tool to get tier 2 resources in the second area, then tier 3. Instead, there's a lot more subtle variations. Progress is very gradual instead of big step-ups, and it is refreshing to see. Also, bonus points because a lot of the tools and outfits look really cool, which makes finding them even more fun. Another very cool thing, I recently learned that some monsters have a low chance of dropping mounts. I got this King Wooly, not to be confused with this King Wooly from Rune Factory, that's in 2 weeks. But now I'm excited at the idea of grinding to get all of the mounts. There is so much to do, I'm learning every time I play, and I've been taking a break from the main story for about 10 hours now, but I'm still constantly making progress on so many things. Each life has challenges, these kind of achievements requiring you to get certain materials. Villagers have requests. Each region has a built-in board with quests that unlock new decor recipes. You can gather materials to make furniture and equipment, or you could also spend some time in Ginormosia. So this game has not only individual regions that you go through for the main story, it also has this huge open world accessible from very early on. Through the different biomes here, you can find most, if not all, the resources you would come across during the main story. So again, that gives you so much freedom in how you want to play. There are also settlements where you get quests and unique furniture, these towers that uncover parts of the map, these little Pikmin-like creatures to unpluck from the ground, shrines with tiny challenges, treasure chests. There is so much to discover in every corner. I've barely scratched the surface of this place, but you can definitely feel some Breath of the Wild inspiration. You even have a similar tablet, but it's clearly not the only game the developers took inspiration from. So you get to build a town on a deserted island, you invite residents, you need to get a 5-star rating, you can terraform, you can build bridges and slopes. There is this very specific transition when you move into decor mode. The decor mode is very familiar as well. If you've played Animal Crossing New Horizons, you will see that there is an incredible amount of inspiration. The bridges and slope really stood out to me. It's so specific, but it works the exact same way as in Animal Crossing. First, for some reason, there's a limit to how many you can place. You order them by talking to an NPC at the guild hall, then you place them. Once that's done, if you later want to move them, you first have to destroy them and then build new ones. I think it's kind of funny that they copied this system so precisely because it's not necessarily the best. But other than that, they also improved on a lot. For example, terraforming is done through this overhead view. Everything is extremely quick, you can place paths and water the same way, as well as furniture. I've not done too much decorating yet, but overall it feels nice. I've seen a good amount of furniture that looked interesting, lots of blueprints to buy in different shops. You can change the style of the houses. I think there is a potential. That being said, I am also seeing some limitations. So the island might be a bit small, and right now it seems like there is a limit of 6 houses, which doesn't feel like a lot. I already got the maximum house upgrade, which really didn't take long, and I don't think it can get any bigger. I think I will have fun decorating, but I don't know if I will spend as much time as I did in New Horizons. I hope that it can expand on this in the future with maybe content updates or DLC, but after all, this island is one feature among many others that the game has to offer. It's not the entire experience, so it might be good to not go into it with too high of expectations for that whole island building aspect. One place where I think I will be spending a lot of time is in the treasure groves. These are randomly generated dungeons where you have 1 hour to clear 10 rooms, some where you have to mine, others where you fish, defeat monsters, and a boss with rewards at the end. You can make each dungeon more difficult than the previous one, and I think that is where a lot of the replayability of this game will be, especially with friends. Fantasy Life supports up to 4 players in online co-op, it's crossplay. One player is the host, others join, and I found it to be a bit tricky to find a specific room sometimes. There's no way to invite someone directly from your friend list, unfortunately, but once together, here's how it works. I've been redoing this section of the video a few times, but it is for a good reason. The developers at Level 5 have been really hard at work. Originally, I was going to complain about how you can't make progress on any of your quests while online. A huge part of Fantasy Life is doing so many quests all the time, doing the life challenges. These functions were all unavailable while online, and it truly felt like we were missing out by not having them. But now, with the latest updates, you can work on any quest that you've accepted prior to starting the online session. You won't be able to accept new ones or redeem completed ones, but for me, at least, I know I always have around 30 to 50 quests at any given point, and my friends would probably get tired of playing with me before I could finish half of them. So that is a huge improvement, and it's impressive how quickly the developers were able to turn things around, which makes me hopeful for the future. Because sadly, there are still quite a few annoying restrictions with the multiplayer. You cannot decorate, you can't do activities like fishing or farming while at your base camp, only shopping and crafting. Then Ginormosia has a lot of its content locked, so you can't interact with the towers, the settlements and shrines are not accessible. It is limited. You can still explore, gather materials, level up, work on requests. That last update certainly helped, but it's still not quite the full experience. The Treasure Grove, however, that is perfect for co-op. Once you clear a grove, you get these goddess fruits to use as a currency for special items, and the more players in the group, the more fruits everybody gets. It's also easier to manage higher difficulty rooms. You can take advantage of each other's strength, so one could take the lead in the fishing room, the other could be more efficient in the mining room. You revive each other if something happens, you get to the end faster. It's really fun and cooperative. You can tell that this part was designed with multiplayer in mind. Nothing is restricted or locked. So the loop in multiplayer is everyone gathers at the base camp, then the host decides if you'll go to Ginormosia, where you'll stay for 60 minutes, or the Treasure Grove, which is also 60 minutes. Whenever you're done with your expedition or the time runs out, you come back to the camp where you can shop, learn new skills, because for some reason the skill board is locked. When you're away, you can craft, you can trade items, but it is one at a time and a bit slow. Then, when you're ready, the host can select a new destination for the next round. Overall, it works well, everyone can make progress with their character, there are emotes and an in-game chat. Cross-platform is convenient, but I wish there were fewer restrictions. With how fast they've been pushing out updates though, I am optimistic. I should also mention that patches and updates have been releasing a lot faster on Steam than on consoles, where they have to go through more of a review process. So if you're playing on the Switch, it might take about a week from the time of posting this video before you can do your quest while online. But with that being said, crossplay still works, so someone on the Switch could play with someone on PC, even if they are on different versions of the game. Now let's talk about the performance and controls. On PC, it's gorgeous. It reminds me of the remake of Link's Awakening in style. It's charming, colorful. I got a bit scared the very first time I tried to launch the game and it crashed right away. But since then, everything's been perfectly fine, and I've not encountered any major bug or technical issues in 40 hours. I only have a few little complaints, so the camera can be a bit finicky, especially in combat when monsters move around a lot. Sometimes things can get weird, and I wish there was a way to reset the camera or have it follow the enemy you're targeting. I also found that farming didn't feel as polished as the other lives. Harvesting is great, the boss veggies are fun, but sowing and watering feels a bit clunky because they use the same button, and just like in Orange Season, I didn't think I would bring up this game today. If you water the soil and plant a seed after watering, the status of the soil resets, so it dries up and you have to water it a second time. Also, when you water, you have these puddles on top of the fields. They appear instantly and just look a bit out of place, and I think it would have been better if the soil got darker instead. So I hope that will get improved. Maybe I'm just nitpicky since I play a ton of farming games, but the planting and watering feels a bit rough. Otherwise, controls are good, the game looks great and feels amazing. As for the Switch version, I think that's where we'll divide a lot of people. First of all, let me say I really appreciate the cross-save feature. You need to have an Epic Games account, and then when you save, make sure that it is updating the cross-save data, and when you go on the other platform, inspect for cross-save data on the title screen, and everything will seamlessly carry over. It is so practical to be able to start a game on PC, then turn on your Switch, and continue it there just like that. If you buy 2 copies of the game, of course, which is unfortunately on the more expensive side. The game doesn't look as sharp on the Switch, and the frame rate is considerably lower than on PC, but it runs. Loading screens take a few extra seconds, but they're never long enough to become annoying. You may have also noticed on the Switch there is this depth of field effect all the time, where things can look a bit blurry, especially if you look towards the upper part of the screen. By default, that is the same on PC, but on PC you have lots of settings so you can turn that off. On Switch, that is just how the game looks. I assume it probably helps for the performance. It could annoy some people, so that is something to keep in mind. I will put some footage of the combat in Treasure Grove with 4 players online and tons of monsters. That is as hectic as this game gets, and you'll see how it is on the Switch and then on PC, and you can compare. For me, the difference is pretty jarring when I go from one to the other. If I have to play sitting down at my desk, I will 100% stick to the PC version, but the performance on Switch, while not great, is also not bad enough to ruin my enjoyment. So sometimes I will play on there if I want to get away from my desk and take full advantage of that cross-save. I would say that if portability is your priority or you only have a Switch, it's good. I've not had any crashes or real problems, but if you maybe have a Steam Deck or a gaming PC, it might be safer to get it on Steam if you want a more smooth, beautiful experience. I also assume that the Switch 2 upgrade should make a difference. It's not here yet, so I can't really comment on it, but it is something to think about. To conclude, Fantasy Life I, The Girl Who Steals Time, should have been called The Game Who Steals Time. It is so addictive, time flies when you play. I was supposed to make this video after 15 hours, but here I am at 40 and I can't wait to go back to it. If you liked the original, you will love this one as it is pretty much the same thing, but improved. If you like grinding, you like life sims, farming sims, Animal Crossing, Dragon Quest builders with the graphics of Link's Awakening and the open world of Breath of the Wild, mix all of these together and that gives us Fantasy Life. This is definitely going into my top 3 games of 2025. Another one might be Rune Factory Guardians of Azma, stay tuned for my review of that. I will also have Fantasy Life tips and tricks videos coming soon. Leave a like and subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you all in the next video.